Welcome to session 18 of OAuth with Access Manager. Um, this is going to be the last session of the OAuth with Access Manager. Um, as you have noticed that in all the previous session we were actually using um, everything which was installed by default with the uh, OAuth Access Manager. We have used the default identity, uh, we have used the default resource server, default scopes, default claims. So in this session we will just go and see how we can create a custom resource server, a custom scope and the custom claims, and then we will get a token with those information and just verify using the Let's OAuth tool. So to do that, what we need to do, we need to go to the custom resource server. We need to go to the identities admin console, go to OAuth and OpenID Connect, and I have created one custom resource server here, OAuth session, and I have set the access token encryption to do not encrypt. It can have the 3 values, but for this session we will go with the do not encrypt. Scopes, we will go ahead and we will create some scopes. So let's see, for example, OAuth scope 1. OAuth scope 1 is the description, and let's see the add the user attributes, include the claim of the type, select the user attribute and select next. When you select this basically says that you are going to actually add the user attribute to this scope. This option says that require user permission. That means if it is enabled, then when you get the consent, there basically you need to provide the permission. The user consent will basically come for this particular scope. Allow modification in consent. If this is not selected, it means you cannot uncheck the this particular scope from the consent. So I'll just keep it as a default and okay. And then you need to basically create an attribute set here to include all the attributes. So to do that, I will go and do the new attribute set and say the custom attribute set. Make sure you enable this support WS and OAuth, and we will not use any template. We'll just go with the next. Okay, so here you need to define attribute. Click on new and let's select all roles. So this is the one attribute which will go. The next, maybe we can go ahead and select the maybe say the mobile. And attribute. Okay. New attribute would be mobile and remote attribute will be mobile. Okay, click OK. So we are also adding the mobile as an attribute here. Click on finish and then finish. So you went to here over the scope. You go and click and see here attributes. Go and select this one. So you can see there are 2 attributes. Now here you can see 2 options. include in the access token, include in the ID token. So you can basically include these attributes either in the access token or in the ID token or both of them. So what I can do, I can just select both of them and add to both. So these two attributes are going to be a part of the access token as well as the ID token. Okay. So here we have created one OAuth scope which is using the user attribute. Another scope which will create with the claims. Let this claim custom claim permission, keep this default, next. And here you can basically create the claim. Claim is just the names or the permission name. So you can write something like OAuth read, OAuth write. It need to be a meaningful when the client application will pick this up, and if the client application need to decide some operations, this claim name should be meaningful. But as we are just doing the demonstration, we are just taking some names. Read, write, and explore, like that. Okay, so this also has an option of either you want to add into the access token, ID token, or both. We'll go ahead and add to both of them. So we have created two scope, one OAuth scope which using the user attribute. The user attributes are the roles and the attribute mobile. It also we have added this attribute to be a part of the access token and the ID token. Similarly, we have create multiple claims and made sure that these are the part of the access token and the ID token. By doing that, we had basically we have just created one custom resource server, custom scope, and the custom scopes with the attribute and the custom scope with the claim. So let's go and refresh this. Okay, so now to verify whether these scopes we can access and it is working fine or not, we will access the tool. And if you remember, we have selected the option to add the attributes and the claim in the token, access token, as well as the ID token. So just for simplicity, we will use the flow, which basically provides both kind of token. So that flow is going to be the hybrid flow. So you remember the hybrid flow you can use to get the ID token as well as the access token. So click on this and use the let's OAuth client. We are looking for code ID token, token all. Resource server, we will give the name OAuth session. Just to information that this OAuth session resource server is not encrypting the access manager key. So everything will be plain. We can just put those token in the jwt.io and we can see the content. Required redirect URI, select that. Scope. So what scope we have created? We have created a scope called OAuth scope 1, which contains the LDAP attributes. We have created OAuth scope 2, which contains the claim. As it is the hybrid, you can see the open ID is must for that. So we will also give the open ID so that we can see the open ID connected, open ID token also, ID token also. So state nonce some value. Let's put the response mode as the form post and go ahead and click this. So when you click this, it is asking for the authentication. I'm going to provide the user which we have created for uh, as a OAuth developer, client application developer. Um, User was name developer and provide the password. Once you do that, you can see that it is asking for the consent. Now the consent, it is asking to provide consent for these two particular scope, OAuth scope 2 and OAuth scope 1. Now one thing is important here to see that we have basically did not modify anything there. Uh, if we go to the OAuth scope 1, it says that require user permission. Yes, this is checked. That's why we are seeing this here. Allow modification in consent. This is unchecked. That's why we are not getting option to uncheck it. So if you want to provide the option to the user, you can basically click it and you can do that. So what I'm gonna do, I'll not use this one. Okay, let's go ahead with this. So you got the idea, right? If you want it to be flexible, you have to select this option. Okay. Now when I click accept, it is gonna add this thing, and I will get a code, access token, and ID token. So let's take the access token first and go to the JWTIO. And as the token is encrypted, we as the token is not encrypted, we need not to send it to the access manager, to the token info or user info or introspection point to get the token information, or we need not to use some private key and all to decrypt it. We can see everything here. So when I paste this, you can see the payload. In the payload, you can see the scope, OAuth 2 and OAuth 1. The role, you can see the roles of the user. So as that user was the name developer, you can see name OAuth 2 developer. And also the one role is authenticated. By default, all the user for the name gets authenticated role. Claims, it is giving all the claims. So this is how you can see you can basically create your own scope and claims and include it as a part of the token. So when we pass these claims, the client application basically use this claim to perform some operations. Uh, so this was the access token. Now we will go and check the ID token. So take the ID token and paste this ID token in the JWTIO, and here you can see ID token. ID token is showing you the claims, all these three claims and the roles, but it is not showing the scope. That I need to check. I am not sure why it is not showing the scope, or whether it is supposed to show scope or not. But the idea is you can basically create the custom resource server, the custom scope, and the custom claims, and you can include that in the access token, and you can also include into the ID token. It is the optional. You can either include in the token or not include in the token. That all the options were there. So this basically ends our sessions for OAuth with Access Manager. Um, I may explore some more topics with the OAuth, or some kind of advanced topics. Uh, for example, I may check how to decrypt the uh, OAuth token when you are using the uh, token encryption using resource server key. So I can add that as a session, um, and also we can have one session where we can talk about the different options and global option and all. But I think these 18 sessions are good to have a basic understanding. I would not say basic, but more than basic understanding of the access manager, uh, and the tool what we have used. Let's OAuth tool gives the flexibility to explore almost everything what you want with the access manager. um, but you can basically use as a starting point this tool, or you can use any tool. The When I was making the videos, I was just making sure that I will just follow a single tool and just go with that. uh, it's up to you. You can use any other tool, but the concepts are everywhere same. You can use the OAuth playground. You can use uh, the different curl script, which is the part of the documentation I have shown in the in I think first or second session. You can use any tool, but the concept is almost same. Uh, yes, I forget about one code flow, which is the SAML bearer code flow. So I believe the session number 19 should be the SAML bearer code flow, and yes, it should be the SAML bearer code flow. So thanks a lot for this uh, session, and uh, I'm going to post this video to some of the forum, and if you find any mistake or something, so this is basically based on my understanding of this product and everything. But if I'm wrong somewhere, and if you point it out, you can reply for the post. Or if you want to know something in more detail about some other topic related to access manager or any other topic with the NAM, you can add there in the uh, in the in the forum, and we can see if I can make some video on that. Thank you very much.